boyfriend, Willie Albrecht, for filing a false police report and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2068, Automatis versus Albrecht.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Albrecht, I'm going to start with you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You are the current live-in boyfriend of the plaintiff's ex-wife?
Soon to be.
Of the plaintiff's wife.
Correct.
Mr. Adamus's complaint is that as a result of you making a call to the police, he was defamed when you said that he was trespassing. It was a false call to the police, and he wants to be compensated to the tune of $2,500. That's what the case is about. So in order to make this whole thing in context that I understand, how long have you been living with Mrs. Adamus?
Since June of 21.
How long do you know her?
Since January of 21.
Have you ever been married?
Yes, I have.
When and for how long?
Previously to April of this year, I was married for 15 years.
So you were married when you moved in with Mrs. Adamus?
Yeah.
Legally?
Legally.
Did you own your own home?
I did.
With your then wife?
Correct.
Did she stay in the house?
She did.
Does she have a boyfriend?
Yes, she does.
Do you like him?
No, I do not.
Does he live in the house?
Not at this time.
Did he ever?
Yes, he did.
And you didn't like it?
No, I did not.
So I want you to understand that there is maybe a reason why the plaintiff resents you living in a house that he owns with his still wife, and you're living there. Do you understand?
I do.
Because you sort of have the same situation. You're kindred spirits. Just a minute. Actually, you're kindred spirits.
Except my 15-year-old son also lives with this young man.
So who cares?
Oh.
Well, that's all right. But you understand why he might be annoyed.
I do, but...
Okay. So now, understanding all that, I want you to tell me, because I'm not totally sympathetic with you, sir, because if you and your wife are divorcing, you're entitled to move on with your life, and so is she entitled to move on with your life. Where do you live? You live in an apartment?
I live in a condominium.
Okay. How long have you lived in the condo?
I've lived when we separated March of 2021.
And who do you live with?
I currently live with my...
No. Who do you live with is the question.
My older son.
And how old is he?
19.
And how many bedrooms are in the condo?
2.
And what about you? Have a girlfriend?
Yes, I do.
Ever stay over?
My house? No.
Do you ever stay at her house?
No.
Does she live with her children?
Yes.
And is she divorced?
Yes.
And she stayed in the house?
Yes.
You see how all these things go? It's just as the world turns. It's just what happens. I've been there. Understand it all. Can either make it hard or difficult. Who pays the mortgage on the house?
Paid off.
Okay. So you have one teenage child, your wife has the other.
Yes.
And how close is the judgment to divorce to being finalized?
Not close.
Not close. Is that for financial reasons or custody reasons?
Financial.
Have to do with the house?
Yes.
Okay. How much is the house? I'm just fleshing this out.
Speculating.
Probably because I'm a little bit of a yenta. Behind this purple robe is a little bit of a...
You know, with the housing market, being a CPA, you know, it's hard to say, you have to do, but I would say somewhere...
Why don't you give Sarah the address of the house, and we'll tell you what this estimate is.
California.
While she's looking that up, tell me when you and your wife purchased it.
2006, August of 2006.
And during the course of the marriage, were you employed all the time?
100%.
And what about your wife?
100%.
So you were both employed and both contributed to the house. Fair statement?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. The estimate is $552,000.
And just for my own curiosity, what's the rub about the house?
The rub
Come
about
on, it's simple.
The rub about the house is she's now went in and spent an ungodly amount of money on fixer-upper after I moved out and went into massive amount of debt. The house was fully paid off, and she's now in massive debt. She's put in fixer-upper.
No, don't look at her.
Okay, that's
look
what
at me.
Okay.
So she's fixed up the house after you moved out.
Correct.
And?
It's not a problem.
Just a second. So what's the problem?
There is no problem with the house, meaning that we're still debating who's actually going to end up with the house. We haven't decided.
Well, whoever wants to be in the house buys the other one out.
Exactly.
For $260,000.
Correct.
Okay? It would seem to me that would be easy.
I think so.
Okay. Now that I've satisfied the yenta in me, I'm getting back to the case. All right. You called the police. This incident, according to what I read, Mr. Adamas, happened on November 5th.
Correct.
You went to the house to pick up your son.
Correct.
Okay. Was that a meeting that had been arranged before?
I have visitation every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks when?
Every other weekend.
Well, so was this a weekend?
Yes, that was one where I was going to go pick him up.
Okay. Had you spoken to him?
Yes.
And so he was expecting you to come at a certain time?
Absolutely.
What time?
Approximately there, we'd arranged about 7:15, that 7:15, 7:30 that night.
Okay. And you had visitation fixed by the court, and you had been enjoying that with your son for a period of time?
Correct.
Okay. What happened when you got there at 7:15?
Well, on that particular visit, my wife had taken his key to the house, and I had...
No. I told you, don't look at her.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, okay.
I'm getting sympathetic with her. I just want you to know that.
Okay.
7:15, you went to pick up your son, and you were annoyed because your wife had taken your son's key away from him.
Correct.
And you thought your son should have his key because he was
Correct.
15.
Yes.
And?
So at that particular time, I
No, don't look down.
Okay, look at me. I went into the house. I'd never been in that house since I moved out, and so I wanted.
How did you get into the house?
The door was open.
Okay, the door isn't wide open. You mean it was unlocked?
Unlocked.
Okay, so let's not say the door was open.
Okay,
the door
unlocked.
was unlocked.
Correct.
Door was unlocked. You don't live there anymore. You live in a condo.
Correct.
Okay, did you ring the bell?
No.
Knock at the door?
Yes.
Nobody
Nobody
there's a bell.
answered.
There's a bell.
There was a bell.
There's a bell.
Yes.
Didn't ring the bell. Open the door. Now, open the door.
Yes.
Your house, I own half of it. I'm going to ask my wife a question.
Yes.
Keep going.
Walked into the house. At that particular time, she is sitting there with my son. At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key, and we became into an argument. She didn't want me to have a copy of the key. And I tried to explain to her, without a copy of the key, he can't get in the house. If I drop him off at odd hours, then you don't have to be home. So then she got upset. At that point, then I never met Mr. Albrecht before this time. He comes storming down the stairs. Mr. Albrecht I think Mr. Albrecht's coming to beat me up. He is storming down the stairs. I have since learned that Mr. Albrecht...
Just stop.
Okay.
Just pay careful attention to me. So far, you're in the wrong.
Okay.
Let me just tell you.
Okay.
So far, from a legal perspective...
Right.
...and a common sense perspective...
Okay.
...you're in the wrong. I'll explain why in a second.
So I walk into that house.
We got past that.
Okay.
We got past that. So now you want a copy of the key, and she says no. I don't care if you want to give it to your parakeet.
Okay.
You're not entitled to a copy of the key.
Okay.
Let's start right there.
Okay.
And let's start with my first point is if you're going there to pick up your son for a prearranged visit,
Yes.
you don't walk into the house. You have a 15-year-old son. A 15-year-old son has a phone.
I tried to call him, yes.
Oh, you tried to call him. What happened?
He said he was there, that he said...
Be very careful what you say to me.
Okay, he
You
was
called
there.
your son.
And I called my son, be ready to go. He said, okay, I'm ready to go.
That was at about 7 o'clock.
Yes, approximately.
What do you mean, yes, approximately?
Yeah, I was probably on my way to pick him up. And so when I come up there, I call him on the phone.
Okay, he's ready to go.
Yes, are you ready to go?
Okay, so you walked in.
Okay.
You had no right to enter the house.
Did not know that.
Well, you had no right to enter the house. You knew that your wife changed the locks.
I did not know at that time she had changed the lock because the door was open. I had not been
No. Listen to me. You went there because... Mr. Adonis, you have to be a two-process thinker, sir, before you give me a lot of baloney.
Wrongfully called the police while visiting his own house.
Okay, if you needed a copy of the key to a house that you partially own,
Yes,
you would have had a key to the house.
correct.
You didn't need a copy to make because you would have had one.
Okay.
So you knew that your old key didn't open the house. Otherwise, you would have said, your mother took away your key. I'll make you another key from my copy.
True.
True, of course it's true. So, so he called the police and he said you were trespassing.
No, he didn't say that at all.
What did he say?
He said he told me I was trespassing. Then he called on the phone, and when he's on the phone with the police department, he is telling them that I am now committing domestic violence. Now, that is a very serious charge. I mean, okay, we can debate about my access to the house, but when you call the police and say that I'm committing domestic violence, which is a crime in the state of California, that's a game changer. So
I want to ask you a question, Mr. Adonis. When you walked into the house and you saw your wife and your son, I want to know, when you walked in uninvited,
True.
Your first words were, I want a copy of the key. That's what you said. You said, I want a copy of the key. Would you read that back to me, please, Whitney?
I'll go with that.
At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key, and we became into an argument.
So now you're in an argument and you're a trespasser. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
Very, very shocking.
She's absolutely correct, as she usually is.
I had no idea this was going to blow up into World War III.
Because he's all about winning. He didn't get his way. He was throwing a temper tantrum.
I feel that he's just trying to do whatever he can to keep me out of the picture.
He lives by his own rules.
He just simply wants me out of the way so he could take over.
Let the courts decide.
It's always so unfortunate when people divorce. I mean, the story is this. I could have written the script without even listening to the people. But they have two teenage boys, 15, 19 years old. One's chosen to live with the father. One's chosen to live with the mother. Clearly, the son said to him, Mom took away my key. Mm-hmm. She clearly took away his key for a reason. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to get into what the reason was, but clearly she took away the key for a reason. Otherwise, she doesn't look like an unreasonable person. Her boyfriend doesn't look like an unreasonable guy. And he was flexing his muscles. Mm-hmm. And the fight is over the house, because I gather that's the only real asset they have. Yeah. Anyway, unfortunate when people don't realize that they have to love their children.
Ryan Hastings is suing his former roommate, Peyton Kammer, for a security deposit, personal belongings, and filing a false restraining order.
Mr. Hastings, you and the defendant were roommates? I'm not quite understanding.
Yes, correct.
Clearly, whether you were roommates or in a relationship. What was it?
It was just roommates.
When did you start to be roommates?
In September of 2020.
Did you know each other before?
Yes.
How?
We were just friends that met at a party and hung out often.
Starting when?
That was in December of 2019.
And what made you decide to room together?
We were both looking for a place to live, so since we both needed that, we found this apartment together.
2 bedrooms?
Correct.
And you moved in with animals,
Correct.
I understand from the complaint.
Correct.
Cats?
Yes.
How many?
I had 2.
I had to.
I didn't ask you anything yet. You had 2. And Miss Kammer had 2. Any other animals?
No.
So you started to live together during COVID.
Correct.
Were you working?
Yes.
Was Miss Kammer working?
Yes.
What was the rent on the apartment?
It was $13.65.
And you each paid half.
Correct.
So far, correct? Was everything okay in 2020? September, October, November, December?
As far as rent?
No, as far as the living arrangement.
Oh, in 2020, yeah, we just had many squabbles, but overall, we were just fine.
I'm going to ask you the same question. In 2020, everything okay?
No.
What happened in 2020?
It was emotional warfare since I moved in with him. There was arguments with everything, even simple things like cleaning the dishes, just nonstop. I was terrified of him living with him. I couldn't bring anything up without it being an argument.
Okay, so prior to moving in with Mr. Hastings, where did you live?
With my parents.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
Is this the first time you had an apartment?
Yes.
And how far away were your parents from this apartment?
Probably like 10 minutes.
If you were terrified, you should have moved home.
I wasn't allowed to.
You weren't allowed to because?
Because I wasn't allowed to live with my dad and stepmom because they moved into a 55 and over neighborhood.
When?
They
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
They moved in a little after I moved into my apartment. I moved into my apartment to prepare for them moving out.
I just don't want to hear drama. If you had fights over who's going to clean the dishes, I don't want to hear terrified unless you're terrified. And if you're terrified and you're 21 years old, you go back to where you came from, to your parents' house. If you're terrified, may not have liked it, but that's just kid drama. So, squabbles in 2020. Your lawsuit says that she disposed of your belongings. She filed a restraining order.
Yes.
As a result of the restraining order, you were evicted from the apartment.
Yes.
It was a false restraining order. You hired a lawyer to appeal the finding of the judge
Yes.
that you had harassed her because this restraining order was based on harassment.
Yes.
May I see a copy of it, please?
I have a copy of the restraining order.
Of the order or what it was based on?
It said what it has the whole thing. It says what it was based on.
Yeah, I see what she has. It doesn't look like it was what it was based on. You do a write-up of what it was based on.
On the front page, in a little box, it has a little description of what happened.
Okay. So the judge who heard this case, and I'm assuming everything in this write-up is true. On the above date, which was the 7th of September 2021, on the above date and time, defendant and the plaintiff engaged in a verbal argument over household chores. The defendant then made comments to the plaintiff that he would go crazy on her and raised his fist. The defendant stated this multiple times and started shaking in anger, causing the plaintiff to be in fear for her life. And you had a hearing on this?
Yes.
You had a hearing on this. You told this to a judge?
Yes.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what you told the judge, or did you tell the judge anything?
I told the judge that I was raising my voice, but I was standing a good amount of distance away from her at the time, and that I was shaking because I wasn't being listened to, and that was it. There was no physical interaction there, only verbal interaction.
His former roommate, Peyton Kammer, owes for a security deposit and personal belongings. Peyton is countersuing for rent and emotional distress.
Now, tell me, did the judge say to you, how would you describe shaking in anger because you weren't being listened to?
Can you repeat that question?
I don't know how you were shaking. You mean you...
I was shaking as in I was shaking just because I was angry. I wasn't being listened to. I was trying to keep my composure. So I was just shaking.
Well, that would frighten me. Actually, I don't know whether I'd put you out of your house, but that would frighten me. Mr. Hastings, where are you living now?
I just moved into a new apartment.
With whom?
Myself.
Better?
Yes, and my cats.
Perfect. Yourself and your cats. Great. No, I'm going to tell you, Mr. Hastings, if that happened to me with a man who was larger than I was, that might frighten me if he appeared out of control. So I'm dismissing that part of your complaint, which seeks damages for a false restraining order.
Okay.
What you actually just testified to me, and I took everything that she said in her complaint against you. I didn't even have to ask her. I wanted to know what you told the judge.
Of course.
Then it was a reasonable issuing of a protective order, just to make sure that it appeared to me what you were testifying to is that she couldn't tell the difference whether you were composing yourself or whether you were out of control. Okay, so it was...
May I interject and just say that the restraining order was repealed and remanded, saying that the court did not find sufficient evidence to impose the order. And
whether it was or not, I don't care what... I'm not sitting as an appellate court.
Okay.
I'm sitting as a trier of fact for the first time in your civil action. And what you told me, in my judgment, was sufficient for a judge to say, you know, I don't want to preside over an assault case or a homicide case. This guy says he was shaking. She says he was shaking in anger. You say I was shaking to try to maintain my composure. Well, I'm not going to worry about them. Let him go find someplace else to live, which is what he did. So I think that that's reasonable. Money owed for return of security deposit. Now, he was put out of the apartment. He put in security deposit.
Correct.
And he was put out of the apartment. How much security deposit did he put in?
$682.
Are you still living in the apartment?
I am.
Okay. When he moved out of the apartment as a result of this restraining order, was there any damage in the apartment that he caused?
No.
Then you have to give him back his $682 because any damage that would have resulted since he moved out would be your damage, okay? That's fair enough. $682, that's your security deposit, sir. Return of belongings. Okay, so when you were told that you had to vacate the apartment, tell me what belongings you left in the apartment, which you think she still has, which belonged to you.
I do not believe she has anything of mine left in that apartment.
Well, what do you think she owes you for?
I am seeking the money for those items because they were thrown away.
What items?
So I had a bed.
Just a second.
Yeah.
You had a bed and there was a major flea problem in the apartment as a result of your cats.
Correct.
Okay, she threw away the bed. What else?
Okay. There was a Nintendo Switch.
Do you know what that is?
Nintendo Switch? I never found that. I believe he took that the night with him.
Okay, she didn't have it. She didn't throw it away. What else?
I also had a hookah that was in there.
What, a hookah?
Yeah.
Do you have his hookah?
No.
Go. What's next? Okay, if you have to think about it that hard.
I'm sorry.
Sir, we're finished. She owes you back your security deposit.
Okay.
That's $682. You have a counterclaim. Most of it is nonsense. You counterclaim for emotional distress. Forget that. Only one emotionally distressed usually in this room is me. Money owed for the month's rent, for a final month's rent. What is that?
He didn't pay the month of September. He was late on it.
The month of September.
But that would have been the $682.
Was he there in September?
September 1st would have been the day that the money was due.
No, when did he vacate the apartment as a result of your restraining order?
September 7th, when the night of the mistake, but he was late on rent often.
$682, that's what he gets.
Yes.
As he gets a security deposit back. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I don't really disagree with anything. Everything went perfectly the way I would have hoped it went.
I'm glad I got my security deposit back, but I could have definitely been compensated for the items that I lost.
I mean, he got a little money out of it, but way less than he thought he would. It's a good day.
Sometimes I can get anxious, but I would not hurt anybody physically.
I hope he gets some help.
Me and my cats are the best trio.
You know, I remember from a very early period in my life when I started college that I wasn't really good at having a roommate.
I think you must have passed that on to me.
I did, especially one that you don't love. You know, it's hard enough to live with somebody that you love. Mm-hmm. You know, they get irritated. You know, she said they fought over dishes and not doing the dishes. Well, you know, you've lived with us, so, you know, I have that argument all the time. But I love him.
Yeah.
It's very hard to deal with somebody schmutz that you don't love.
Got to be careful and pick someone you really think and cross your fingers and toes.
Actually, Sarah, I don't think you should pick anybody. I think that what you should do, if you can, is live in a shoebox by yourself, if that's all you can afford. Yeah. You know how many roommate cases we've done just in the last couple of years?
All with stress and aggravation intertwined immensely.
Immensely, and that's without romance involved. Oh, yeah. I mean, this young man, who looks like a perfectly reasonable young man and very honest, said he told the judge that he was shaking. I said, well, describe to me what you were doing. And he shook. And
I would say that's
crazy.
A little out there.
She was getting under his skin. There's no question she was getting under his skin.
Middle of COVID, everyone's inside.
You could tell she was getting under his skin. She was terrified. You know, she's 21 years old. Yeah, a little dramatic. Anyway, I think it ended okay.
Former landlord Charles Ashley for sabotaging their business, vet bills, and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2036, Carter versus Ashley.
Thank you. Welcome. Your sisters, is that correct?
Yes.
You decided, according to your complaint, to go into a business, some sort of a doggy daycare. In what month and year did you decide to go into that business?
This year, 2 months ago, May.
Do you have any dogs of your own?
Yes.
How many?
I have a poodle and 2 pits.
And you?
I have 4 pit bulls.
Did they all live in your home?
They did, yes.
They did?
Yes.
The two of you decided to go into this alleged business and needed some space, according to you, and went to the defendant who was renting a house. Is that right, Mr. Ashley?
No, it's not a house.
What is it?
It's a building.
What kind of building?
It's a commercial building.
Okay. On this commercial building lot, there's a backyard or a back
yes.
empty space, and it's an open space with a fence.
Yes.
So it's not a home.
No.
What arrangements did you make with the Carter sisters to rent them that space?
I made arrangement with Deborah Carter.
May I see that? Deborah Carter.
correct.
That's you.
Yes.
When for the first time did you meet Deborah?
I think it was around the 4th of June.
And she wanted to bring some dogs onto your property.
Correct.
How many dogs did she want to bring on your property?
She didn't tell me. She told me she had a kennel. And when I got there and she had the dogs there in 2 cages, it was 7 dogs, 7 pit bulls.
In cages?
And yes, and they're there today.
They're still there?
Yes.
May I see them, please?
I don't have them, and I didn't know what to get together.
Okay, I'd like to see what pictures you have, sir.
Yeah. This is the 30-day notice that I've given her, and those are the pictures where she damaged.
Miss Carter, sometime after June of this year, did you place dogs in this fenced-in open space in cages?
Yes.
Loud. You hear the way I'm talking?
Yes.
And how many dogs did you place in the cages?
At that time, it was 7.
7 adult dogs?
No, there's 3 adults and 4 puppies or 5.
How old were the puppies?
They were 6 months, 5 or 6 months.
Who did the dogs belong to?
Me.
So all those dogs.
Well,
Judge, let's get it right the first time. This is not going to get easier. This is going to get harder, Miss Carter. So the 7 dogs that you stop playing with your papers. The 7 dogs that you placed in the cages were your dogs.
Mine's my sister's and another friend.
How many were yours? You had 4 pit bulls. Mm-hmm. Were your 4 pit bulls there?
Yes.
Yes, that's a yes. So you're 4. Your sister has 2 pit bulls. Were her? Look at me. Your sister has 2 pit bulls. Were her 2 pit bulls there?
Yes.
So that's 6. And somebody else had 1. Mm-hmm. Who was the person who had 1?
They're not here. It's a friend. We were watching their dog. They
okay,
have a
so
dog.
you put your 4 pit bulls, your sister's 2 pit bulls, and a friend's pit bull in 2 cages.
No.
How many cages?
There are 4 cages, but...
Okay, I'd like to see pictures of the 4 cages. There you go.
And that's just to separate them.
Your Honor, when she
by
first...
sex.
Shh, just a second. Prior to meeting the defendant, where did you keep your 4 pit bulls?
In the yard at my home.
Was it in the backyard that you kept the 4 pit bulls?
Yeah, they had space in the backyard, but they stayed in the house. And then when it's time to do their thing, they go outside. They stayed in the house in the living room.
So they were house dogs?
Yes.
And what about your 2 pit bulls?
I stayed in the front house. They stayed in the house with me.
On what date did you bring your pit bulls to the yard? June 4th?
June 6th.
6/6. And you paid him for a month. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yes.
How much did you pay him for the month?
$500.
And the 3 puppies that were 6 months old, what did you intend to do with those?
We had people that wanted them. We were supposed to move.
Just a second. Were they yours or hers? Who did the 3 puppies belong to?
Me.
They belong to you. So don't speak for her.
Okay.
Good.
I've been speaking for all my life.
I don't care what you've been doing all your life. Right now, I'm getting answers to someone who may or may not be swift enough or savvy enough not to tell me the truth. Did you ever have more than 7 dogs in the yard?
No.
Okay. So this is what I'm sort of confused about. Of the 7 dogs that you kept in his yard, 6 of them were pit bulls that belonged to you. And what you're suing him for is, you say, because of him, you lost your kennel business where you want, well, that's what it says here. You lost your kennel business.
Daycare.
What?
It's a
dog
daycare.
daycare.
It's a daycare.
There's no dog daycare. They were your dogs.
No, we were supposed to be inside. We were only supposed to be outside for a week. The business is a business, like he said. It has a storefront. It has a middle section. The storefront is where we take the small dogs. When you come in, we'll greet you, assess it, bring in the small dogs. If you have bigger dogs, he has a middle section. We were supposed to split the building in half.
And he never
He never cleaned the inside of the building. We had to go in there, power wash it ourselves. We bought our own paint. We were only supposed to be outside for 2 weeks until his people cleaned the inside for us.
Okay. Is that what you were supposed to do?
No, Your Honor, they are lying.
Okay.
The building was a motorcycle shop. They ain't bought no paint. They ain't cleaned nothing in it. It's still not clean.
Okay.
And
Were
they didn't have no money.
Just a second. How much in total did they give you for rent?
$500.
Is that correct?
Yes.
For the first
Just
month.
a second. Did you give them any more than $500?
No.
Did you have any other dogs other than your 6 dogs and somebody else's 1 pit bull ever on the premises?
No.
No, don't speak. I'm speaking to her. So whatever business you were, your investment in this business was $500.
No. I worked for him May 25th to June 1st. I cleaned out 25 refrigerators.
I don't care. That's not in here.
That was a pay. Yes, it is.
She ain't worked for me.
Just a second.
I sent it to you guys.
Just a second. Miss Carter, there is absolutely nothing here that says that you worked for him and he owes you for that.
Well,
let me tell you what your complaint states. Your complaint says money owed for sabotaging a business, vet bills because one of your dogs was injured, and
I'm not saying
actual and punitive damages for assault. That's what your claim is.
I'm just saying that I cleaned those appliances. He said that that was a payment for rent. So that was for the second month of rent. It was $500.
Just a second.
He was supposed to pay me every day, but I just told him to put it towards the rent.
Okay.
And that's what we agreed to. So
Okay.
the first month and the second month was paid for.
Listen to me. My question is simple.
Yes.
Sorry. There's only one attitude here, madam. Stand up. Are your dogs still there?
Some of them.
Get them off his property.
Why is
It's
that?
not
It's
his
over.
property.
Very easy. You want to keep dogs in a cage like this? I can't control that. I am certainly not putting a judicial imprimatur on keeping dogs, and I don't care what breed they are, in cages in a backyard. So what I'm telling you this is you have 24 hours to get your dogs off that property. Get them off. He's going to get an order from a marshal. And if your dogs aren't off that property, they're going to the pound.
So
do you
why is
understand?
Why is that?
I want you to
Why?
understand. I want you to understand my order, because now we're in August. You started this whole process in June. I'm finishing it before it gets too mucky. Get your dogs off the property. We understand each other?
Why is that?
Why? What did we do? We paid. We
like
did
the
everything.
No,
we was
you
supposed
paid
to
him
do.
for 1 month in June.
But we
You
worked
paid
for
him.
him.
You paid him in 1 month in June. We are now in August. This is a marriage that's not going to go well. Get your dogs off his property, and then you don't have to deal with them anymore.
his property, ma'am.
Do you understand?
It's not his
No,
property.
I
you
don't
want-
understand.
You-
You don't
you-
understand
then
that
if it's not his property, then what are you suing him for?
Because he's the one who stabbed me.
Oh, just
And
a
he's the
second.
one who-
Just a second. So if we're eliminating money owed for sabotaging a business, and if you're suing him for assault, then I'll hear your assault. Then I don't have to hear any of the things about the dogs. So all I'm going to hear about is the assault. Tell me what happened. You were assaulted. That's what you want to tell me.
Yes, July 5th, we had came. My witness, if she could speak, she had
No, she wasn't assaulted, right?
Yes.
Okay.
She was assaulted first, actually. She's the first one he swung on.
Okay. Step up. July 5th. Your name is what?
Priscilla Walker.
You don't own any of these dogs, do you?
No, ma'am.
What were you doing on the property on the 5th of July?
I sometimes go and help them with the dogs, clean up and feed the dogs.
And those dogs that were there, they were there for at least a month from June 4th to July 5th.
Correct.
They're 6 pit bulls.
Correct.
Right? That used to be, according to them, in the backyard or in their homes, right?
Correct.
Okay, now, Priscilla, I want you to look at me, and they're your friends, right? So you went over to help them.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what it is that caused them to take these house dogs, dogs that were in their homes and in their backyard if they had to relieve themselves, don't speak, and move them into cages in a backyard in a commercial building. I want you to tell me that.
Your Honor, that wasn't the intent. They moved the dogs for a bigger space because they're entrepreneurs and they wanted to start a business.
Just a second, it's not their business. Business is starting a business with somebody else's dogs, not your dogs. They wanted to start a doggy, uncross your arms. They wanted to start, according to them, a doggy daycare. That I understand. But you don't start a doggy daycare by taking your dogs that are house dogs and putting them in cages in somebody else's backyard.
Why not?
Or somebody else's space.
Your Honor, that's not necessarily true. We're millennials. When you're boosting a business, you want to use yourself and what you have as advertisement, and that's what they did. So the other dog that they did have was a friend, and the friend was actually paying for that dog to stay there. So it did deem it a business at that time.
You still haven't answered my question as to why their 6 pit bulls were in cages when they were formerly house dogs for a month.
Your Honor, the gentleman over here to my left did not allow them they didn't have access to what they paid for.
Just a second. Are you telling me that for a month they didn't have access for the dog? You just told me that you would go there and help them clean up.
To the inside of the building that was promised
I'm not
to them?
talking about the inside of the building.
Okay.
And the
Pay clear.
We got the whole yard.
Pay careful.
Yard inside the building.
They're not hearing all of you, and you're not answering my question.
Denise and Deborah Carter claim their former landlord, Charles Ashley, broke an agreement to store their dogs. They also claim he assaulted them. Charles claims he was the one who was assaulted.
Okay, if I was starting a doggy daycare business and I had house dogs, my little Shih Tzus, running around the house where they have been for years, I would not take them and put them in cages in a back vacant lot in order to demonstrate that I had a business.
My dogs
just a
slept in
second.
the house. They slept in the house. They didn't roam in like your little Shih Tzus. They didn't do that.
Just a second. You told me that they stayed in your house.
I said they slept in the house, in a cage, in an area.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't understand how you could take your pets.
But they stayed outside.
Because we were offering other things. We wanted to have one.
All right, let's get to the assault. I'm not interested in this. Now.
Your Honor, I have the lease here. I'm paying the owner $4,000 a month.
He lied to the loaner and said he wasn't going to do any subleasing. He subleased
The only thing I'm interested in is the only thing I'm interested in is the assault. So Priscilla, don't speak. The 3 of you went there for what purpose on July 5th?
To feed and clean up after the dogs.
Okay, and you had done that before?
Yes.
And when you got there on July 5th, was that over a holiday weekend?
Yes, it was.
It was a Tuesday.
It
was a Tuesday, so July 4th was on a Monday.
Yeah.
Had you spent the weekend with them?
I was
I'm not speaking to you. Had you spent the weekend with them?
No. Yeah.
Okay, you say yes, she says no. I'm not asking you a question. Do you understand? So you spent July 4th.
Go ahead.
You spent July 4th with them. Is either yes or no?
No.
When did you meet them on July 5th?
Around the morning.
Around what time?
11
a.m. You're asking me with a question.
11 a.m.
I don't know if it was 11. I'm asking you.
11 a.m.
Did you have a discussion with them?
Regarding
the dogs, what you were going to do that day?
Of course, we always have discussions about what we're going to do during the day.
When you spoke to Deborah, did you ask her when she had last seen the dogs?
No.
No, you did not. Deborah, prior to July 5th, when had you last seen the dogs?
July 4th.
What time?
It was about 5 o'clock. I was in there, cleaned them up. He came, locked me in for 4 hours.
Okay, so on July 4th, you were in there feeding the dogs.
Yeah.
And July 5th, you went back in the morning again to feed the dogs. Mm-hmm. Is not an answer.
Yeah.
Now, tell me what happened when you got there on July 5th.
On July 5th, when we went inside to feed the dogs, I went to go turn on the water hose, and I noticed that the water would not come out. That's when they were in the kennels feeding the dogs, and I told Carter that, hey, the water's not on. So the door to the building was open. I believe they both stepped in. When they stepped in, there was like verbal altercation.
So when they stepped in, you heard that there was someone else in the building?
Yeah.
Okay, and that would have been you, sir?
Yes.
On the 5th?
Yes, me and another friend of mine.
Okay, and what were you doing in the building on July 5th?
It was about 6 o'clock that evening. My friend came by the house. He's a general contractor, and I'm renovating the building to set it up for business. So I said, come on, let me take you up here, show you the building. I need your help. We get up there, I open the gate, go in, leave the gate unlocked, and we walk through the building. When I come around, they're in the building.
All three of them or just one?
All three of them.
Had you turned the water off to the
No.
hose outside?
No.
Do you
I used
know?
to water the dogs when they didn't come because they'd be barking so, and the neighbors next door, I just moved in, Your Honor. I don't want to make no enemies. That's why I told them I'm not taking no more rent from you. Get the dogs out.
Okay.
I tell them you trespass.
Just a second. So now you went inside, or the Carter sisters went inside.
Yeah, I said
You
that.
heard some noise. Did you go into the building?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened when you went into the building?
When I went into the building, he immediately got very frustrated and said, "What are you guys doing here? Why are you here? You need to get off my property, get off my property." They're like, "We paid you. We have an agreement." And next thing you know, he pushed Deborah Carter, he pushed her, and then that's when Denise Carter got in the middle and said, "No, you're not, don't put your hands on my sister." The situation ensued. The gentleman that was inside stopped everything and walked him out of the building. And as he's walking him out of the building, and we're walking out behind him so that we can try to figure out what's going on with the water, he slams her foot in the door and tries to lock her in and pushes her. And that's when they started pushing on the door because at this point he's trying to lock them in.
Lock them in the building?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
When they actually, the gentleman stopped him and the door opened, I seen what type of altercation it was. I didn't want anything to do with it. I'm like,
so at that point, nobody was injured?
No.
Okay. So now you're outside?
Now we're outside.
Okay. And you're outside in the back area where the dogs are?
Correct.
Tell me what happened next.
So as we're walking, I'm walking fast because I noticed that he's walking fast. And I'm like, "You're not about to lock me in here. You already just tried to lock them in there."
You mean lock you in the
the
yard? So you got out of the yard?
Yes, he tried to close the yard gate on us, which is a really big, tall, black gate. And as soon as he tried to close it, it was just an altercation, a verbal altercation started. He didn't like what was said. I was on the left-hand side.
Tell me what the altercation was.
Everything was said about the business, that they were going to speak to the owner, that, he still owed them money if he wanted them to move out for the rest of the month, that he could just give them the money or whatever and they'll leave. It wasn't a problem.
By the way, I am looking at your lease, and you did lease the premises from June of 2022 to May 31st, 2025 at a monthly rent of $4,000. Are you still paying rent to the owner of the building?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to remove your dogs there.
He's not paying rent. He has an eviction notice too. He owes $4,000. I have a picture of it.
He's lying.
He hasn't paid rent.
When was
Nothing
he
else
hasn't
he's
paid
saying
rent
is true.
this month or last month. He got the eviction last month on the 11th.
Okay. Right now, he has not been evicted from the property. Is that correct, or have you?
Right.
I just paid him yesterday.
Why did you say you?
Just a second. Oh, I'm asking a simple question. I have before me, ladies, pay attention. I have before me a lease that gives him 3/4 of the building and the backyard. Until he's evicted, until this lease is deemed void, you have to remove your dogs within 24 hours of today.
Why?
I am evicting you with a marshal tomorrow. Get your dogs out of there.
Denise and Deborah Carter have accused their former landlord, Charles Ashley, of breaking their agreement and assaulting them. Charles claims Denise and Deborah attacked him first.
Okay, we're going to get back to this assault because I have other things to do today. You're outside. The gate that he's tried to cross has opened up again. And
he got really angry. He was saying a lot of curse words, you need to remove all your, if you don't remove it, I'm going to remove it for you type stuff. And after that, he swung with his right hand and it connected with my face. After that, he started punching on all of us, so we had to defend ourselves and fight back.
And then an altercation got started, and everybody was fighting with everybody. So it was the three of you and him.
Yes. That's
Okay.
correct.
Did you go to a doctor?
No, but I was.
Just a second. Did you take photographs of your face?
No.
What about you? Deborah, were you hit by the defendant?
Yes, I was.
Where were you hit by
my face and my foot. No pictures, and I didn't go to the doctor. I self-healed.
Good. And what about you, Miss Carter? Where were you
To the
hit?
doctor. I had to go to the ER because I had to get stitches. I had 9 stitches.
Okay.
And-
Well, tell me about the stitches. That's what I want to know. How did the cut that required the stitches take place?
When he was attacking us, he was swinging on me, and he had a blade in his hand, and I thought he was punching me, but really when I was blocking myself, he was taking.
That was the second occurrence, because after the first one, we tried to leave the situation. He was upset and put out a knife.
We thought
and
we were
attacked
leaving,
us
yeah.
with
He
a
just
knife.
came back with the knife, and
Now I'd like to see the records.
Here's the knife records, and then here's the police records on when he was arrested, and that's just like my stitches and what doctor I went to and like my medication.
Okay. Now I'm going to take a look. Okay, Mr. Ashley, the only thing that I actually want to know about from you is there's no question in my mind that the plaintiff did not cut herself. No question. I want to know how she got cut.
I don't know, sir, Your Honor. I didn't even have a wallet on me. I'm 75 years old. I wouldn't even argue with her. I went to the back door, the gate, and they had a trash can where they had propped it open. So I went to move the trash can, and that's when this one hit me and knocked me down. And when I was coming up, Deborah hit me in the head with a 2x4, and blood just went everywhere.
Did you go to the doctor?
Yes.
I'd like to see your report.
It's in the record.
Your Honor, I have a video of what happened. I could just solve this right now.
Oh, I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Do you have it through the assault? I'm just interested in the assault.
It's just the assault.
Just the assault.
Yeah, it's just press
I'd like
play
to
right
see it.
here. Okay, if you press play, you'll see him slamming us out.
I don't see any assault.
Well, yeah, but I tell you, my phone fell out the hand.
Well,
I'm just saying
then
that
don't
he-
show me what I can't see. All I know is he has medical records that he received 5 staples in the top of his head on that date. And that's not something he did to himself.
No.
Get up, stand up.
He
Where do you
did do
think
that.
you are? You think he did that to himself?
Yes, do you see the tire behind him? He just fell over it.
That's
And
exactly
all
what
that wood
happened.
behind him, he fell on that
Shush.
stuff.
Listen to me. Blunt head trauma, which is what
They
the
knocked me
emergency,
down.
which is what the
You knocked
emergency.
yourself down.
Okay.
You attacked us.
You
You
have-
were attacking us in pleasure.
okay.
Listen to me.
It's okay.
Listen to me carefully.
All right.
You have now sit. You have 24 hours to get your dogs out of that yard. You want to show me pictures of a trash-strewn yard? That's not where I would keep my precious house dogs for an hour. So get your dogs out of there 24 hours from today.
How do I counter that?
This is not a dance party. I'm ruling now. 24 hours, remove your dogs. You have nothing left to do with him. He wants you gone. I want you gone. I want those dogs out of the cages on that property, and I want them gone within 24 hours. Now, there's no question, Mr. Ashley, that both of you were injured in that altercation. No question. All I'm asking is, subsequent to your arrest, did you have a hearing?
No, Your Honor, I have it right here. They rejected the case.
May I see it?
They wouldn't even hear it.
They rejected it. Did you have a hearing?
They didn't tell me about anything.
They didn't tell you about anything. Well, that's because they rejected the case. Okay, I'm telling you, because I'm issuing an order, I'm giving it to you. You're the lawful tenant of the building. You can take it to a marshal, take it to the sheriff. Those dogs have to be out of there within 24 hours. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
You know, it is what it is.
I thought it was a good decision. It was the truth.
He has no consequences. It just is the reason why you don't believe in the judicial system.
I'm not going to be renting out to them no more, and I'm not going to rent to nobody.
I think that it's so cruel to keep 7 dogs in small crates day, night.
Especially in a commercial building, open lot.
People shouldn't have dogs that do that. There should be a license required to own a dog, not necessarily to be a dog, but to own another living creature. I don't know what kind of mind would think that it's fair to keep a living creature in a filthy,
dusty,
infested yard in crates for now 3 months. I don't know what kind of creature would do that.
Brother, Jordan Thompson, and his girlfriend, Carmela Turchiarelli. for personal belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Good. Case number 248, Bolio versus Thompson's Turkey Valley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How old are you, Miss Bilio?
I'm 31.
You have 2 kids?
I have 3 children.
3. How old are they?
I have a 10-year-old daughter and 2 sons that are 4 and 5.
What kind of work do you do?
I stay at home with my children.
And how long have you been staying at home?
Since my first son was born.
So for 5 years?
Yep, my first son.
And what had you done before?
Housekeeping, and while I was pregnant with both my sons, I did do beet harvest.
There came a time, sometime, I think, was it last year, that you needed a place to stay.
Yes.
2021.
Yep.
Why?
September 29th of 2020, me and my boyfriend had broken up, so I had stayed in a shelter.
Is your boyfriend the father of either one of these children?
All my children have the same father. Me and him had broken up at the time, and I left from where we were staying at the time. Our living was West Fargo, to the YWCA right away, the homeless shelter. And I was there for like 6 months. And during that time, I had met Carmela, and me and her became friends. And I had introduced her to my brother. And then I moved away for a little while in April, and I came back like the end of May.
Where did you move to?
I went to Texas.
What's in Texas?
A friend.
Where did you meet him?
Here in Fargo when I was 14 years old.
So what brought you to Texas?
That's where he was living, and he told me if I wanted to come live with him there, I could.
You didn't have a job in Texas?
He did.
You?
No, I did not.
And from when to when were you living in Texas?
I left April 15th, and I was there until like...
Of 2021?
Yeah. And then I moved back beginning of June, kind of. And then...
Beginning of June of the same year?
Yes.
So you stayed there for 3 months?
Yeah.
And you moved with your children?
Yep, all 3 of them.
Yep is not an answer.
Yes, all 3 of my children I moved.
Okay, so you took them out of school in April?
My daughter.
Took her out of school in April?
Yep, I did.
Yep is not an answer.
Yes. And we moved.
You took her out of school in April to go to Texas to live with a friend that lasted 2 months. The fact is you took your daughter out of school. I'm just trying to figure out who I'm dealing with.
Yes, because I had nowhere to live.
Well, there's a big place, but where do you live, in what state?
Minnesota.
In Minnesota?
Yeah.
Well, there's a big difference between Texas and Minnesota. And also, there's only 2 months between April, when school is still in session, and June, when it's over.
Yes, I know this.
Yeah, you know this. You're aware of this.
Yes.
Okay. I set this up because I really want to find out what I'm dealing with here. Now, I sort of know. In any event, you had no place to go. Your brother contacted you. You contacted him, and he invited you to come and live with him.
Yes, he did.
All right. That's what he did. You and your 3 children.
Nope, just me and my 2 boys.
So you were going to live with your brother and his girlfriend with your 2 children.
Yes.
You got there when?
October.
Of 2021.
Yes.
Case is relatively simple. Case involves your claim that they have property that belongs to you. And they have a cross complaint that they probably would not have brought, but for the fact that you're suing them. Because I think that they're just happy that you're gone. You moved in with them in October of 2021 and paid no regular rent.
The agreement between me and my brother was to buy food for the house and to give him money when I can.
Okay, now you weren't working. Now you weren't working, so how are you going to buy food for the house?
I was on assistance through Minnesota, so I got SNAP.
So you got food stamps?
Yes, and then I had child support. Well, I was on child support, but I wasn't getting the money. I didn't start getting money until February of 2022. And that's when I start giving him
Just
money
a second.
every so often.
In October of 2021, you were not getting child support.
No.
You were getting food stamps, which you said you would share with your brother.
Yep.
Who lives, not yep is not an answer, who lives with his girlfriend, and how many children?
We have no children.
No children at all?
We have dogs.
That's fine. So you were sharing some of your food stamps with your brother and his girlfriend?
All of my food stamps went to the house.
Well, that's where you were living?
Yep. Yes, it was.
Yes, that's where you were living, with your 2 children?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm currently unemployed.
And what does your girlfriend do?
She works for a cleaning service.
Okay. Now, there came a time that you got a substantial amount of money from the government. What month and year was that?
Just this past April.
How much did you get from the government?
It was taxes.
What kind of taxes? You haven't worked in 5 years.
It was the child tax credit, and I did work when I moved back from Texas.
You told me you hadn't worked in 5 years. I want to know what you got money from the federal government for. That's what your brother says. And I was curious, that's why I asked you the questions about working.
It is.
So don't make it up.
It slipped my mind.
What?
I'm sorry.
So that
did
doesn't slip your mind.
I did housekeeping, laundry in a hotel when I moved back from Texas with my mother.
Month? You worked from June 2021 until, we'll find out.
Until like mid-June because I did not have a babysitter for my children.
So you worked for a couple of weeks?
Yes.
How much money did you get from the federal government in April of 2022?
Like $11,000 from the government for child tax credit.
So you got $11,000, not from working, not that it slipped your mind, because 2 weeks may slip your mind because that's what you worked, if you worked at all. $11,000, you got child care credits. How much did you get for each of your 3 children?
I only filed for 2 of my children.
How much did you get for the 2 boys?
I believe $3,000 for each of them.
That's $6,000. Where's the other 5?
That came to me for the stimulus checks because I did not receive the last stimulus check. They said that my boys did not receive the refund that was coming to them for the stimulus too. So that was all.
So your boys got. Let me understand. Let me understand why this country is in such a fiscal morass today. So you got $3,000 for child care credit for each of your children, and the other $5,000 came because you went to an accounting firm, and they said, well, you should have gotten stimulus money for your boys.
Yes.
And you missed that, so we're going to put in for it. So they sent you another 5, or they sent you...
They sent it all together on one.
Okay. All together on one. So that you had plenty of time to go and take care of.
Yes.
Right.
Your judge actually have proof of how much she did get.
Now, when you got this $11,000, that $11,000 was supposed to help get you through COVID.
Yes.
Paying your bills, paying for rent, buying clothes for your children. So you got this money in April of 2022, $11,400. Okay. And then you went on vacation. In what month and year did you go on vacation?
April of 2022.
So the minute you got the money, according to you,
I started looking for a vehicle.
You bought a car?
I started looking for a vehicle.
So you started to look for a car. Now, you've been without a car for a while, but you started looking for a car.
Yep.
And also in April, you asked your friend, your brother's girlfriend, if she would watch your 2 children.
Me and her had a discussion before April.
You didn't go until after you got the money.
Yes.
You knew you were getting the money before April because you had gone to apply for it.
Yes.
Yes.
But when I got the thing where it said I was getting the money back, it didn't say that much.
$11,400. So you decided to go on vacation. Where did you go?
I went to Colorado.
Where in Colorado?
Up in the Denver area.
How did you get there?
I was with a friend and they drove.
Male or female friend?
Male.
So you went with a male friend to Colorado for how long?
I was there for a week.
What does this friend do for a living?
I'm not really sure.
You don't know whether this friend works or not?
I met him last year, and I kept in contact with him throughout the whole year. And then we just got back in contact February of beginning of 2022.
And you don't know what he does for a living?
I'm not really sure what he was doing for work.
Alyssa Bolio claims her brother, Jordan Thompson, and his girlfriend, Carmela Turturelli, owe for the value of her personal belongings.
Okay, so you went away for a week, and according to what I read, you made arrangements with your friend, your brother's girlfriend, to take care of your 2 children, and you agreed to pay her $400 for the week.
Yes.
And then you went away for the week in April. Did you come back after a week?
Yes, I did.
On what date did you return?
The Saturday right before Easter.
Date?
April 19th, Your Honor.
And then what happened?
I came home and I talked...
April 19th?
Yep, I came home on April 19th and I talked to my brother and Carmela. I stayed at the house for a little while because my boys were not there
What
when
a
I got
little
home.
What a little while?
I stayed at the house for maybe 2 hours and got all my stuff into the house, and my boys were not there. So I believe I went to my sister's house and to my mother's house, and I did not know where my boys were.
Just a second. If your two boys weren't in the house,
I had asked them where they were.
you asked them where you were and they told you it was a secret?
No, they asked them where my children were, and they said that they had went with their father.
So you knew where they were?
When I got home, I knew where they were. I didn't know that they had left previous to me arriving
Yeah,
home.
when you got home from being away with a new friend in Denver, and you said, where are my boys? Duh, where are my boys? They're with their dad. So you went to your sister and mother's house, and then what happened?
And then the next morning, we left to the cities, and
The next morning?
On Easter Sunday.
On Easter Sunday, who's we?
Me and the friend.
What friend?
My friend that I went to Denver with.
So you went where?
Minneapolis.
How far a ride is that?
4-hour drive.
You intend to stay over there?
No. We were gonna go visit some of his friends and then come back. But next thing I remember was waking up in the hospital. And I contacted my brother when I did.
You have the hospital records?
No, I do not. I contacted them.
You have, just a second, you have an admission record.
No.
Do you have a bill from them?
No, because I don't get billed.
Of course you get bills. When you leave the hospital, they say either you owe us this amount of money, that's what you get when you're discharged from the hospital. You may not be able to get hospital records, but it would certainly be interesting, madam, for me to know what. The next thing I knew after you were going with your friend to the cities to see some of his friends, you don't know anything until after you wake up in a hospital. Wouldn't
As
you be
soon as I woke
concerned?
up, I contacted my brother.
What date?
I'm not sure. I don't remember exact dates.
I mean, you have 3 children. What do you mean you don't know what date?
I don't know the exact dates, but I did contact him as soon as I was able to, because I did not have my own phone.
Don't you see how irresponsible this whole story is for a person who has 3 children?
Yes.
How totally irresponsible it is. And what is sad about it is you appear to be an intelligent person who just seems to go from one place to another based upon, well, I used to know him in Texas. I used to know him in Colorado. I used to know him here. I'll leave my 2 boys with Camilla.
And we don't have no children, so we're taking care of her children while she's out running around doing whatever.
I didn't ask you
Okay.
anything. I can actually visualize the picture, and sadly, so can you. What date did she finally contact you after she disappeared again?
So after a Thursday after Easter Sunday.
The Thursday after Easter Sunday, so that's the
21st of April is the Thursday after Easter this year.
It was actually Monday, the 25th.
We got records.
That's when I came home.
I don't care. I just want to know when you showed up again.
I contacted my brother, and I let him know what had happened. And then he was asking about our father, like I was supposed to go pick up our father.
I don't care. Let's get to the lawsuit. Now that I understand the characters that I'm dealing with, it is your claim that your brother and or his girlfriend took some of your property, didn't give you all your property that you should have had, because they finally said, we've had enough of you and your shenanigans. Goodbye.
I did
Good
not
idea.
start leaving the house until that April. I was in the house the whole time with my boys. I've asked them maybe to watch them overnight a couple times, but that's it.
I don't care. They had enough of you. You didn't pay rent. They could say to you, goodbye. We tried to do our best. You took advantage of us. Goodbye. Now, that being said, you stayed with them for how many months and didn't pay them any rent, any utilities? How many months? You and your boys?
4.
4 months.
Because I started paying my brother in February.
Paying him what?
Money. I gave him money.
No, I don't
When
want to
I
know who
got
gave him money. Rent. I know that at your age, maybe you think you're
didn't
too
agree
young.
upon a state
Maybe you're
of
too
an
young.
amount.
They either rent their house, they have a mortgage on their house, they have things that they
We
have
did
to
not
pay.
agree upon a set amount for every month. We did not
Well,
agree
don't
upon
you
it.
think you should agree on a certain amount every month? You
But
just
we did
came
not.
into $11,000.
And it was actually way more than 4 months.
You just came into $11,000. You've been living off somebody else's largesse. You just came into $11,000 that I gave you, or they gave you, but you certainly didn't work for. So you say to at least the person who you're staying with, listen, I'm going to give you a couple of $100s a month just to cover my share of the expenses because you're 2 people and we're 3.
I gave him $400 when I got my taxes. As soon as I got it, I gave him money.
Did you pay Camilla for watching
I
the
did.
children?
Yes, I did.
$400?
Yes.
Okay. Did she pay you?
Yes.
She says in her complaint that you sold a computer of hers. She says you felt that she owed you more money because you actually watched the children for a longer period of time than the week that she paid you for when she doesn't remember where she was. Did you sell her computer?
I actually gave it away.
No, I don't believe that.
I did. And it's not
Well, why
her
would you
computer.
give it away? That's just spiteful.
Because it was family, and
What do you mean it was family?
it was family.
I am not your family.
I don't want you to speak. You have no right to give her things
It
away.
wasn't hers, and I have proof right here.
Whose was it?
Who knows? I guess her friends.
That doesn't matter. It was in her possession.
It was in our possession,
It
actually.
was. She left it with us. When
left
she
it-
left.
I left it at the house.
No. That you may think is in your possession.
She asked me to sell it for her.
What?
She even asked me to sell it for her.
But it was not
Just
in your
a second.
possession, it was in my room.
Madam,
Yes.
if she asked you to sell it for her, then you don't give it away.
Well,
if she says, sell my computer for me, then you sell it. Then you don't say, I can't sell it, so I'm just going to give it away.
I gave it to one of the kids in the family that I thought could use it way more than her trying to use it to bail out her friend from jail.
That's not.
And she owed me a whole bunch
Who
more
died
money.
and left you boss?
Well, me in the house because it was our house.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You met her in a shelter.
Yes.
How long have you lived in that house that you're currently living in?
August of 2018, to be exact.
Before that, the lease was in my name.
What part of I don't want to hear you? So you moved into his house.
Yes.
Right. So it's not your house.
Well.
It's his house. And since you're not his wife, you're his girlfriend for now, you have no right to sell or give away any of her property, whether you think somebody deserves it more than she deserves it. Hey, that doesn't require an answer. I'm telling you what the rule is.
Oh.
Alyssa Bolio has accused her brother, Jordan Thompson, and his girlfriend, Carmela Turturelli, of wrongfully selling her belongings. Jordan and Carmela claim Alyssa gave them permission to remove her property.
Now, you have no right to go into somebody else's bag. If they gave you instructions and you accepted those instructions, please sell my computer for me, which is what you just said. Isn't that what she just said?
It is what she just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sell my computer for me, and you decided not to sell it, but just to give it to somebody else in the family who could better benefit from it. You got to pay for the computer. Period.
She owed me money.
Period.
I have the evidence.
Just a second.
Okay.
Just a second. That's a different story. Carmela, let me tell you something, sir. You look like a very nice guy. You look like a very nice guy. I would unload her as fast as I could.
Oh.
I'm just telling you.
Wow.
I'm just telling you. Because first she says, I gave it away. Let's understand what she says. First she said, I gave it away. Then she said, she told me to sell it, right?
Yes.
Then she said, I gave it to somebody who I thought could use it better than she was using it. Now, I'm going to ask you, Kevin, to go get the 2 pieces of paper that she wants me to review that she owed her money, and then I'm going to go back and explain to your lovely Carmela, listen to me, sir.
I'm listening.
Who I would think twice about. Well, I don't see anything about a computer here. I see that you wanted them to sell your TV,
yes,
jacket, and all of this is so that you can get him out of jail.
Yes.
Oh. I didn't see anything about the computer. I see the TV, I see a jacket.
Here, it's right here.
Just a second. It's not in the ones you gave me, but I'm glad you gave that to me because I have some indication that she did, in fact, ask you to start selling stuff because this is the same person that you went to the cities with.
Yes, and...
yes, when you forgot where you were and woke up in a hospital.
Yes.
Okay, found someone who wants that digital graphic computer. So can you put it in the living room or by my door? So you were going to sell your digital computer.
Yes.
Was it his computer?
It was, but he had given it to me.
So you wanted to sell it?
Yes.
And you say, I'm not giving it to you until you pay me what you owe me for childcare, because you felt as if she should pay you more money because you watched the children longer than a week.
And there's a couple other reasons.
And
She owed me
whatever,
the
and
other-
a pair
she
of
owed me-
shoes. I don't care. anything about that. You have a bill for the computer?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. No, I don't like this because the date was changed. The date the order was placed was to April 18th, 2022. So this is not a legitimate, it may be a legitimate price, but it says order placed on April 18th, 2022. You want to take a look at that? Because that's phony. Somebody changed that. No, somebody changed it.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
When did you get it?
I got it in April.
I don't believe this. Take a look. When did he go to jail?
The 25th
Of
April.
what?
Of April.
And you left on vacation with him when?
A week before Easter, so I'm not really sure.
A week before Easter, Sarah. What's the date?
The week before Easter, the previous Sunday would be the 10th, April 10th.
April 10th. And you were away for a week?
Yes.
And then you don't remember where you were?
No, that was the second week.
That was the second week?
Yes. I was in Colorado for the full week, and I came back the day before Easter, and then I left on Easter Day, and then
And when did you get this computer? You see, that's what I'm asking you. When could you possibly have gotten this computer if the bill...
This is dated the 18th.
Of April.
Which I believe they said was the day she came back.
When could you have possibly gotten it from him?
I ordered it for him. I paid for it, and then he gave it to me.
Listen, I suggest you both get your acts together. You get nothing from your brother. Just consider yourself very, very lucky that he took care of you and that he let you come into his house. I would suggest you not do it again, and maybe she'll get smart. She has 3 children. She'd like to raise them together. She should get a job. Find a way of making a living. Figure it out, because you made 3 children. They have a right to a certain amount of stability.
And they all are stable.
That's not stability.
That is
Get it together. Oh, well, sometimes you can't get through to people. They're that kind of thick, and that's why we are where we are in this country. Do you understand?
Yes,
Think twice. I know you tried to be a good brother.
Yep.
Think twice about doing it again. By the way, does your mother work?
Yes.
And it mentioned something about a father. What kind of work did your father do?
I don't really remember.
He was a logger.
Both your parents work.
Yep.
Evidently, it didn't rub off. Thank you very much. Your case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim.
This court is adjourned.
I'm okay with it. She was a friend, and I love her children. And really, it wasn't about her. It was about them kids.
He won't talk to me because of her.
You need a job, you need to
Change.
Something needs to change with her.
I don't really care.
Hopefully she does figure it out. The kids deserve it. He deserves it. He's a good brother.
You know, that case takes me back to my family court days.
Mm-hmm.
And I only have one observation other than the fact that I'm what should be society's frustration with this, which is once you have children, you have the responsibility, your sole responsibility is to make sure that your children are taken care of. You have to say, listen, my social life takes a back seat. Everything else takes a back seat. But I have 3 little kids, and they are my priority. So I have to do whatever I can to put my life in order. And she clearly has her priorities all messed up.
I agree. I think I can understand and empathize with those women who are parents who can't provide a stable environment for their children and temporarily leave them with a mother, a father, a family member, while they can provide for a stable environment, go get a job, go try and find constant housing. But it blows my mind. I can't empathize with leaving your children with family to take care of and then not doing anything to put yourself in a position to care for them.
In a better place.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't have to worry.
Adam Snyder and Julie Alice are suing their former employee, Trevor McCormick, for breaking his lease, the cost of a phone, as well as a personal loan.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Case number 2031, Snyder Alice versus McCormick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Snyder, you own a farm,
I do,
and this is your girlfriend.
yes.
How long has she been your girlfriend?
5 years tomorrow.
You say that as if 5 years tomorrow, and?
And I'm just saying, it's 5 years.
5 years tomorrow.
Yeah.
And?
And the rest of our lives.
Okay, good. He know that?
No, he's learning.
He's learning. Terrific. Okay, this is what I'm gathering from the bare bones of the story. Mr. McCormick was dating an employee of yours.
Correct.
What was that employee's name?
Natasha.
When were you dating the lovely Natasha?
We weren't really dating. We were an acquaintance.
Where was Natasha living?
She was living, when we first met, she was living at a friend's house, and she was working for Adam as an employee at a restaurant.
And when was that? Month and year?
I'd say around September of last year.
September 2021.
Yes.
And?
And we decided to move out because Adam had
Well, so you were living with Natasha at the friend's house?
Yes.
Where had you been living before?
My mom's.
So you went from mom's house to Natasha and a
Yes.
friend's house?
Yes.
Okay. And then where did you go?
Then we moved into the trailer right next to Adam that he owned.
Who had a discussion with Mr. Snyder about potentially renting the trailer so you would have a
Natasha.
place to live? And what kind of rent were you paying?
I believe it was $800.
And you moved into the trailer when?
Around November.
Of 2021.
Yes.
And you lived in the trailer till when?
About March.
March of 2022.
Yes.
In March, what happened?
Me and Natasha weren't getting along. I just had enough.
There was never a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship.
No.
She was just a friend. Did you know that?
That is not true.
So what did you do?
I asked Adam if I could move into the ranch house. There was nobody living there at the time.
Where were you living?
I live at my home with Julie.
Okay, and there's a ranch house on the farm.
I have a ranch house on a separate piece of property.
Close by to the farm?
Yes, 3 miles.
That was vacant.
Correct.
Okay, so you asked to rent it?
Yes.
Who was going to rent it?
I was.
Just you?
Yes, just me.
How much was the rent?
It was $800.
And this was in March?
Yes.
Prior to March of 2022, what kind of work were you doing?
I was working at a factory.
How long did you work there?
About a month.
What month?
March.
Prior to March, where were you working?
On Adam's farm.
From when to when?
I'd say about December until March.
Well, in December to March, you were living in the trailer.
Yes.
Okay. And you were living with the lovely Natasha.
Correct.
And Natasha, I assume, was contributing to the rent.
Yes.
And how much were you contributing to the rent? Is not an answer. How much were you contributing to the rent from December to March of
Couple hundred.
2021?
Couple
What?
hundred a month.
That's not an answer. A couple of hundred a month. How much do you pay for rent? $316 a month and 24 cents. How much does it cost to have your garbage picked up? $59.12. Do you understand? Certain things
Yes.
change. What was your electric bill last year? I don't remember. What was your bill last month? I don't remember.
$300, ma'am.
You see, but I mean, a couple is two.
Yes.
Who did you pay that to?
Natasha.
Well, I can't tell whether you paid that to Natasha or not. Did you ever discuss rent with Mr. Snyder?
No.
Even in the trailer?
Even in the trailer.
So that was all done through Natasha?
Correct.
Okay. But according to you, you worked someplace in March, but before that, you worked on the farm.
Yes.
From when to when? December to March?
Yes.
Beginning, middle, or the end of December?
The middle, the 16th.
Is that about right?
If you want to call
Just
helping...
helping whatever.
Yes.
December 16th. Okay. And from December 16th, you did whatever work it was on the farm until March.
Yes.
March what?
Till I moved out.
No, March what? Beginning, middle, and
28th.
And what was the rent in the ranch house? The ranch house must have been nicer than the trailer you were living in.
$800.
You moved in April?
Yes.
How much money did you give him?
$900.
Some was to go towards security?
I was in between jobs, and that's what I had. So we made an agreement that I'd pay $900 the week of, and then so on and so on. I don't
What's
have
the
the
so on
copy.
and so on?
I don't have the copy of the lease. He never gave me it.
Did you sign a lease?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
I have it right here. In the back of the contract, you'll see where we wrote down he would pay $900
Just a second.
on the 8th.
Okay, so the security deposit was supposed to be $1,200. You paid $8.
Paid $9.
The security deposit was $12, and you paid $9 of security deposit?
I paid $9 total, ma'am.
Well, how many months did you live there?
Not even one.
When did you move out?
April 24th, I moved out.
Is that correct?
That's close, yes.
Okay.
I don't know exactly when he moved out because he didn't tell me he was moving out. He just locked the door.
Okay.
And wouldn't
But it was in
return
April.
messages.
Okay. And you had $900.
He paid $900.
And the rent on the property was supposed to be
$800 per month.
$800 monthly.
Yes,
So right now, you've been paid for the month that he lived there.
correct.
Prior to his moving in there, who was living there?
Nobody.
So it wasn't rented.
Nope.
In what year was it last rented?
2021.
When?
Oh, no, it was in February. We did an eviction on it.
So somebody lived there and didn't pay rent.
Correct.
Is that the first person who came and didn't pay rent?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Yeah, it's
And
lousy
Trevor
to
was
be a
there,
landlord.
and he helped us do the
Yeah.
eviction on that, so he knew how it worked.
Hmm?
Trevor was there. He helped us do the eviction because we had to have court officers there
To get him out because they weren't paying rent.
So he knows how it works.
Well, he may know how it works, but he did, in fact, give you $900,
He did.
and he lived there for less than a month.
That's right.
So that's sort of square. I know you'd like him to be responsible for his lease, but you have your house back. Now, tell me about this phone that you say he owes you for. By the way, where's your phone?
I have my phone that I paid for. Their phone that I put a down payment for is at my house.
Why?
I didn't know I had to bring it.
Well, it was just purchased within the last year.
Yeah.
Why do you have two phones? You have no
Because,
job. Why do you have two phones?
I have a job.
Oh, good.
I bought this outright because he shut the other phone off.
Oh, well, where is the phone?
The phone's at my house.
What kind of phone is it?
It's an iPhone 13.
You want it back?
I'd like him to just pay for it like the agreement was, but
He gets back his phone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Even though I paid
just
it
a
down.
second. Where do you live? Where do you live?
I live in Highland.
Where is that?
It's by Detroit, Michigan.
Who else lives at home?
My girlfriend,
What's her name?
Ariel.
Where is she?
She is currently working right now.
Does she know where the phone is?
Yes.
Okay. They're going to give you an envelope in the clerk's office back here. You're going to tell Ariel to put his phone carefully packed and mail it to him. FedEx, UPS, the fastest way it will get there. Then you get your phone back. Go. What's next?
I have text messages here from Trevor. This will show where, when he was dating Natasha, they had agreed that they would pay for their phones up front so that I would put them on my business plan. I told them I would only do that if they paid for the phones up front, because when I took Trevor to Verizon, I said, if they don't pay for their phone bill, as long as they've paid for these phones in full, I can shut them off and it will cost my business no money, correct? And the lady said, that is right. I said, okay, then we can do it. So we added them to the bill, to the business plan. And here, where I text him, I said, you and Natasha told me you were paying for the phone in cash. That's why I allowed you on my business plan. Now I found out that you did not pay for the phones up front, because when we were in there, he and Natasha had the cash.
Did you assure Mr. Snyder that you were going to pay for the phone?
I had no idea I was even going to get a phone until Natasha said, go with Adam and go pick up our phones. That's all I heard, and that's what I did.
Well,
I didn't know
can't
about
say
the
that to
cash.
me because the lovely Natasha isn't here either. Sir, you're going to get your phone back. Is it one phone or more?
We recovered the second one from
Well, you're going to recover this one too. You recovered the second one.
Yeah.
Second one was Natasha's?
Correct.
Great, we're going to recover this one too. What's next? Changing lock fees, and you want a personal loan. Okay. So once he moved out, according to you, he moved out totally, and you didn't even know he moved out, so I don't know why the locks were changed.
The lock did not need changed. I did tell the court that we were going to have to change the locks because the key was missing. I didn't know that while I was away on storm, Julie had gone in to check to make sure the water wasn't running, and she found the key on the table. And that is
Okay,
what Trevor
great.
said.
So we're going to eliminate that. And now we're going to go to the small loan that you say that you made to the defendant.
So Natasha came over, guys. He said she worked at.
Don't tell me what Natasha asked you. That's all hearsay. I need to know what conversations you had with the defendant.
Okay, but she came over.
But you can't tell me what she said, you see.
Okay. So
And
anyway,
if you made a contract, if you made a contract with Natasha for a loan of money, even if it went for his benefit, do you understand? Okay. Even if it went for his benefit, he's not responsible. If Natasha says, I want you to give, what's your first name?
Trevor.
Trevor, a loan to fix his car, and you say, okay, you need somebody to pay you back. Natasha has to say, I'll pay you back. However, you can't tell me that.
Adam Snyder and Julie Alice claim their former employee, Trevor McCormick, owes for the cost of a phone and a personal loan. Trevor is countersuing for unpaid wages.
Now, did you ever have a conversation with Trevor about money?
I do. I have a text message telling him.
No, tell me, not a text message.
The conversation was not verbal.
It was by text message?
Correct.
Okay, so I'd like to see text message from him.
Yep. This has from Trevor. This is his number.
Okay. May I see it, please?
He did pay me $100 in cash.
Okay, so it's clear from this text exchange, sir, that you borrowed a certain amount of money from the plaintiff.
I did not borrow, Natasha.
Yes, well, it acknowledges it here because you say, I start that job on the 14th. I will pay you back out of my first check. It was for me, and I will pay it. That's what you wrote. Do you understand? Do you want to look at it?
No.
You don't want to look at it. You're not questioning me. So it's clear from this that you borrowed money from Miss Ailes.
I personally did not. I didn't even know what was going on.
Who wrote this? I start that job on the 14th.
That was me.
Well, then, that's in response to her text message to you that says, hello, Trevor. I heard you were moving out and I need that paid by the end of the month. I have been very patient as no attempt has been made on this. Thank you. And you immediately wrote back to her and said, I start that job on the 14th and I will pay you out of my first paycheck. That's what you said to her.
Yes, ma'am.
You mean, yes, ma'am. Now, I'm going to get back and ask you the question I think I asked before. What was the loan for?
I broke down in Oklahoma.
In what month and year was that?
About September of last year.
September of 2021 is just about when you started dating Natasha.
Correct.
Okay, so your car broke down in Oklahoma. And?
And it had to get fixed.
And?
So I rode the Greyhound bus back up to Michigan and waited until my car got fixed, which took months.
I'm asking you, what was the loan for?
To go back down and get my car.
So it was $670 that you borrowed from her, and I want to know how it was that you got the money.
I came in to Julie's house, and Natasha said, you're going to Oklahoma to pick up your car, because I didn't have any money right then and there, but I wasn't going to ask anybody.
Just a second. I don't care what you were going to do, what you didn't do, what you thought about doing. You went into the house that the plaintiffs share.
Mm-hmm.
Not uh-huh. Uh-huh is not an answer. The answer is yes. The lovely Natasha was there.
Yes.
With Julie.
Yes.
What did you say and what did Julie say to you? Just Julie.
Julie didn't really say anything. She said, don't tell Adam about the money.
Okay, so she said she would give you money.
Yes.
And she knew exactly how much you needed.
Yes.
Did you tell her that?
No.
Okay. When she gave you the money, did she give it to you in check or cash?
She didn't give me no money. She gave Natasha the money.
Okay, how much was it?
$700, around there.
And after it was given to you by Natasha, but you were all in the same room together.
I was not in the house at the time when they were discussing that.
Well, you said you went into the house.
I came to pick Natasha up. Yes.
I don't want you to make yourself appear any more stupid. Do you understand?
Yes.
Try not to do that. You were in the house with Julie and Natasha at some point, and at some point, money was discussed.
No.
Was money discussed in front of him?
No, it was not.
Okay, so your loan was not with him. Do you understand?
Yes.
Unless he ratifies the loan subsequently. Is that correct?
Correct.
This is from my person who just studied for the bar, and I have to go back in my mind 50 years. If my memory is correct, if you don't make a loan directly with someone, they cannot be obligated to repay that money. However, if they subsequently get use of that money and subsequently agree to repay you, they have ratified that contract.
Correct. You just have to decide if that's a ratification.
Yeah. What would be your take on that? Take a look at it very carefully. What would be your take?
It was for me, I will pay it. Seems pretty close to textbook ratification.
Yeah, I would say so. I start a job on the 14th. I will pay you back out of my first paycheck.
I just wanted to keep the peace because she was down my throat.
This woman was down your throat?
Yes.
She may have been annoyed, very annoyed, but she wasn't down your throat. She was the one who volunteered to give you money in your time of need. How could she be down your throat? Okay, so far you paid her back $100. Is that what he paid you back? So he owes you $600. Okay, so far, Mr. Snyder, I'm not with you on it, on the rent.
Okay.
I'm not with you on the lock change fees. I am with you on the phone, which you're going to get back. He's going to get that back within 5 days. Otherwise, he's going to have difficulty.
Here from the day that he did the phone purchases, instead of paying for the phones up front, he also added a bunch of other cordless phone chargers and everything else to the bill.
How much were the extras?
Totally, there's 2,000.
No. I don't want them total. You're going to get the phone back. What were the extras that he charged onto the phone?
There is a $41.99.
$41.99.
There is a $20.99.
Okay. You know that I went to 7 years of postgraduate school for this. Keep going.
$29.99.
7 years, they were very hard years. I also took the bar exam. Keep going. $29.99.
$17.99.
Oh, it's getting worse. Not better for you, Mr. Snyder.
And $11.99.
Worse, a lot worse.
$122.95.
Okay. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
Working on the farm,
Okay. Tell me about that. From when to when did you work on the farm?
November to the end of March.
And what were you doing between November and March?
I was feeding cattle when Adam was on storm, watering them.
To March
taking
what? The
after
end of
him.
March?
Yes, right.
I thought you worked at a factory.
I did both.
Well, you can't do both. You work at a factory. I asked you if you had a job. You said, I work at a factory.
I did do both.
Well, now I need the name of the factory and find out what your shift was.
I was,
And you worked during the day.
yes,
From when to when?
from
Time.
6 to 6. Well, I had,
Just a second. Mr. McCormick, if you work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., it is not possible to work a full-time job for the plaintiff as well.
I had a schedule of three on, 2 off.
Okay. We're making it up as we're going along.
Adam Snyder and Julie Alice have accused their former employee, Trevor McCormick, of refusing to pay the costs of a phone and the balance of a loan. Trevor claims he was not paid for the work he did on their farm.
Now, did he work for you?
It would be very minimal. He would put hay bales out, which would take 10
He would
minutes.
put what?
Hay bales out for the cattle.
Hay bales.
Yes.
At approximately what time of day? Because I'm not getting...
He could come and do it when he got home from work.
Okay. And did you have a financial arrangement with him for putting out these bales of hay?
We never did.
Okay. Is there any reason why you never did?
Because he didn't do it very often, and he said he was just happy to help, although he did get paid for everything he did until the last day that he worked for me, where we were tearing apart a building.
So he got paid when he worked for you?
He did.
That's
Oh,
incorrect.
just don't speak. From when to when?
When he helped me, it was very minimal. It would be...
No, I'm not talking about the hay. You said he did, in fact, work for me.
He did.
I want to know, but not on the farm. He worked someplace else.
He helped on another piece of farmland that I have.
Okay.
Where a barn had fallen down. We were tearing the steel off, and he worked 3 hours that morning.
3 hours what morning?
The last day that he was there, it would have been
So that's in March.
early, I would say the second week of March.
Okay. When was the first time he worked there?
I would say probably in January.
And he was working at this other plant from 6 to 6 in March,
Correct.
according to him. So he did some work for you in the first month, which was January.
Yeah, if he helped me, it might be 1 day a week.
Fine, I just want to know if he got paid for it. That's what he's...
Yes, he
We
did.
can't do May something. How much did you pay him?
It would depend on how much he worked. One day I gave him $300 for helping me for a day and a half on another demolition job I did.
And you paid him in cash?
Correct.
Okay.
That was for the demolition job. That wasn't for the farm.
It doesn't make any difference, sir. If you have a full-time job and you're working part-time someplace else and you say he paid you...
He did not pay me.
Well, you say he didn't pay you for the farm. What he's saying is he had a job with me. He was a demolition job for which he got paid, which you do not deny. Is that right?
I'm not.
You just said that's not what I asked you. He paid you for the job that you did part-time for him
Yes,
in
he paid me for that
demolition.
job, yes.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
And what you're suing him for is allegedly money that he owes you for working on the farm during a period that does include March when you were working full-time someplace else.
Correct.
And working for him.
Yes.
And doing this work at the site in March, the first 2 weeks in March, because you got some money for that.
Correct.
So now you have, according to you, 3 jobs. 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
First of all, you had no fixed financial arrangement with him at the farm.
Correct. He said he'd pay me what he can.
That is not a contract. Okay, but let's move forward with that. Tell me what your chores were at the farm.
I would go feed them hay.
Just feed who hay?
The cows.
Okay, how many cows do you have?
130.
Anybody else work on the farm or just him?
Just me mainly, and he would help when I was gone.
Okay, and in order to keep these animals alive, they have to be fed hay.
Correct.
For how many months did you feed them hay?
3.
Once a day?
Yes.
And what time would you do this?
Usually in the morning.
Before you went to work?
Yes.
That had to be 5 o'clock in the morning. You went to work at 6 o'clock. You had a shift, according to you, from 6 to 6.
Yes.
Okay, so how long did this take you in the morning when you had a full-time job?
Sometimes
Not sometimes. I want you to tell me how long it took you.
Average about an hour and a half a day.
So let's say it took you an hour a day. And how many days did you do it?
I was with him every day before I got the job. I would go with him every day.
I don't care.
Okay,
For the 3 months, I'm asking you how many days you did it.
45.
That be right? In the 3 months, maybe 45 days? How many days did he put out hay?
If Trevor fed the cattle 12 days the whole time by himself, I'd be surprised.
And I helped him because I was there.
You did not help me when
Just
he
a
was
second.
gone.
Yes.
You helped him with the bales
Yes,
of hay?
I helped him because we also had another hired hand that would help me too. So I was rotating between both of them.
Okay, so let's say he worked 20 hours. Did you pay him any extra money for this work?
No, not for feeding cattle.
Not feeding cattle. And you didn't have any arrangement with him whereby he would work on the farm and he would get something off his rent?
No.
Okay, so he has to be paid for that. Sarah Rose, would you look up and see if there's a minimum wage in Michigan? What's the federal minimum wage? I don't know anymore.
$15.
So the minimum wage is now $15 an hour. That's federal.
Yes, ma'am.
15 times 20.
$300.
Okay, so Mr. Snyder, let's start with you. You are going to get your phone back within 5 days. On your cross-claim against Mr. Snyder, I am awarding you $300 on your counterclaim. That is for the work that you did on the farm. However, we are holding that check until he gets his phone back in good condition.
Yes.
Do you understand? Otherwise, you forfeit that money.
Yes, ma'am.
To him. Do you understand?
Yes.
With regard to the co-plaintiff, I find that you did, in fact, take a loan from her, that you initially did it through a third party, but that you ratified the fact that you would make payments on the loan by two things. First, by acknowledging it in writing, and second, by making a payment. So I'm awarding you $600 on your claim. Those are the orders of the court. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think they're scam artists.
We came here to try to teach him a lesson that when he enters into contract with somebody, the contract is a contract.
They're greedy. They want money. They need money.
For being greedy, we did a lot to help this guy out.
By doing pretty much anything they asked.
Well, we've decided we're not helping people out anymore. They're on their own.
It's funny because if he didn't send those text messages ratifying the contract that someone else had made on his behalf, he could have gotten away without any responsibility. But when someone makes an agreement on your behalf and you then later either pay for it or admit responsibility that you know you owe it, then you've ratified it and you're held to that, even if you didn't make the initial agreement.
See, and the right thing happened.
Yeah, it
And
did.
the right thing happened.
It did.
So that's good. That's
Taking
all good.
accountability.